it's going to be difficult to do a full set because eventually you're going to run out of the raw lengths that are shorter. Now that doesn't happen generally with soft stepping, as most golfers never carry a number 1 or a number 2 iron. Well, that's a wrap. Let's turn this back over to Rob, and we can field your questions in the time that we have left.
Okay, just a quick promotion here. As you folks are writing your questions, our tour gear line is going to be here April 2nd. So that's just in, 10 days or so. And then also our ICT line, the new adjustable hosel drivers and fairways, and also the Profit ICT hybrids will be here the first week of May. So just a little FYI there. Okay, just still waiting on some questions. We've had quite an attendance today. I'm surprised no one's asking any questions yet. Any other additions, Jeff?
No, I see I must have done such a thorough job.
Well, that's the thing. It was extremely thorough and informative, and normally when we have this many people as attendees, okay, here they come. Well, nice job, Jeff, is one comment from John. Thank you. I'm sure Jeff appreciates that. Just wait a couple seconds here for some other questions coming in here.
I know why they're not asking questions. They're probably checking scores for the NCAA tournament.
Very good point. But they're here. Well, wait a few more seconds here, Jeff, and maybe this will be a first of the year and a half or so that we've been doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, guys? If not, we'll wrap it up here. I'll wait just a few more seconds. This is all being taped, and it will be on youtube.com/HirekosGolf, and it will also be on our blog. So Mark asked a question. So it doesn't matter, even if trimming an iron to a wood length or vice versa, just go with weight?
Correct, but make sure that the shaft, if you have a wood shaft, make sure it's going into wood and vice versa. Don't try to take a wood shaft which is smaller in diameter and place it into an iron, because usually they're not designed for that. But if I've seen places where they do that, you will have to treat it based on the weight instead of the number.
Okay, that was from Mark. Thank you, Mark. Albert asks, I have a shorter golfer, about 5'2", 30-inch wrist to ground. Any special trimming required?
The main thing is you're going to fit the golfer ahead of time with the proper shaft based on the flex. In some cases, you may have a demo club where the customer had to choke down. So in those cases, if he'd like to feel that, I would just simply butt trim to your final length, which would be to take maybe an extra inch off the butt end. In some applications where the club is going to get shorter and the swing weight's going to get lighter, you could essentially do like soft stepping and chip trim less than what it calls for to provide a little bit more flex to the club. But you're going to have to use your judgment on that.
All right, Dave asks, I find that when I tip to manufacturers' recommendations, I most often cannot get the frequency slope I am looking for. I often have to nibble more or less to get the proper frequency. I am using the PCS equalizer chart.
Ah, nibbler. You should go to our website and go on the blog, and there's we have a previous webinar on shaft sorting that you'd probably pay interest to. But if you have to understand that the equalizer chart for the PCS was done on averages. It's not absolutes. And for example, like a True Temper TT Light XL shaft is going to run stiffer if you follow the manufacturer's trimming instructions than what the equalizer numbers would be. Whereas something like a GS75 is going to be much more flexible, and you'll run out of length on the shaft tip to even get it close to those numbers. That's what makes these shafts unique. Otherwise, we'd have, you know, nothing more than everybody offering the same shaft. So if it's a slope that you're concerned on, that's going to be based on the tip trimming. And again, that webinar will explain it in more detail.
Okay, Donald asks, could you talk about using the lead pins and a graphite shaft to get the swing weight you want?
Basically, that's going to be in the assembly process when you're actually building the club on the scale, and it's just to neutralize maybe the differences or tolerances, the head weights, or to add weight to each and every club throughout the set to get a desired swing weight. It's not going to really affect the tip trimming, other than that maybe that small little eighth of an inch that those tip pins account for. They get positioned between the bottom of the hosel and the tip of the shaft when you insert them in there, so they don't run up and down the shaft.
Okay, Frank asks, when trimming by head weight hybrids, how does that affect the swing and total club weight in the set?
By doing that, that's actually what does help to make up for those differences. If you, at least on the swing weighting, it'll allow for normal swing weights. Total weight, that's a function of the shaft weight that you chose. And there's no
Gary asked oh, go ahead.
And there's no standard for that. But there are standards for so-called standards for swing weighting.
Gary asked a great question here. Not exactly on subject, but I remember you saying club length was more important than final weighting. Is that right?
Oh yeah, by far. It's just like any tool, having the right length tool to do job is your first starting point. After that, then you can worry about the other parameters.
All right, looks like maybe the last question here from Mark. So if we plan to add weight in the shaft bore, should we include that weight on top of the head weight alone when determining which column to tip trim by?
Chances are if you're using a tip weight, you're probably not going to be using enough to take like from a 4-iron that may weigh like 250 grams all the way to 257. Usually it's going to be less than that.